Hi, my honeys. Today's episode is one that I have had many requests for and many questions about, namely, how to climb the emotional frequency scale. If you are returning to my channel, once again, thank you so much for being here with me. I appreciate your presence, your time, and your attention, as well as your support, your feedback, and your love so much. If you are new here, you are most welcome. I am just Melissa, and this is Empower Empire, where I share tools that I have learned about and used in my own life to potentially assist you in your journey of coming into more of your personal power. So, in line with that, a critical aspect of our personal power is that of achieving not only emotional control, but true emotional stability. How to be completely centered in our power pillar, emanating from the core of our being, in which we feel emotional states of being by choice. And regardless of what happens externally to us in life, that can be like popcorn, things exploding and happening all over the place all the time, so many external influences, where in spite of that, we are able to hold our own emotional state of being, maintain our own frequency, and have a clear mind that makes choices and responds by choice, where we know how to shield our personal energy and protect it. So I hope that what I will share with you in this episode will be beneficial to you achieving that. Now, this is not only a very important topic, but also a really big one. So I'm not sure at the outset of this recording if I'm going to be able to cover everything that is involved in one episode. We'll have to see. Perhaps this will become a series of 2 or 3. I also really don't want to neglect or forget to mention aspects that are really, really important to the process of climbing the emotional frequency scale. So if I provide a few too many details, I hope you will bear with me so that we can get to the true meat of this topic, which we can then distill into processes that we're able to use to assist ourselves. So, where to begin? For starters, I think it's important to lay a foundation that there is a distinction between a feeling, I feel something emotionally, and an actual emotional state of being. And it is an important distinction because feelings, like thoughts, come and go. In order for a feeling to stay, we need to actually attach to it. We need to identify with it and become it, which is a great thing to do if it's a high and a positive feeling, and not such a great thing to do if it's a low and negative feeling that we're wallowing in. These feelings that come and go are energy in motion, where we get the word emotion from, but they arise as a result of our mental construct. They arise as the result. The energy comes in because of what we're thinking and how we're thinking it. Very often, feelings that we connect to from the broader energetic field are the result of subconscious programming, preconditioning, established beliefs that we're not even necessarily consciously aware of. And yet we resonate within a certain frequency band of established feelings because we have an established mindset. We have a certain worldview, if you like. We have an orientation, and we have constructed mental frameworks, the lens through which we view everything in life based on that. Now, in contrast, an emotional state of being arises as the result of persistent and deliberate conscious thought, exercised by choice, until the resultant feeling of that level of thinking naturally arises within. And then we hold and remain in that state. It becomes a place that we choose to reside, the frequency band that we elect to be coming from. So sometimes there's congruity between an emotional feeling and an emotional state, and other times not. So it's not enough just to understand the feeling, but to also have some insight about the emotional state, the mental construct, the projection that we're actually coming from in order to connect to that feeling, which then together create the emotional state, the frequency band. I hope I've explained that well. Okay, so after that basic introduction, it's important also for you to know that different feelings, different emotional states exist within different bands of frequency. Think of the rainbow and the color spectrum as a way to visualize this. Certain emotions are low and dense, like the red in the rainbow. Certain emotions are neutral, like the green. And certain emotions are really high, like lilac purple in the rainbow spectrum. And then there are all the shades in between, and some that blend. But understanding the vibrational frequency of a bandwidth is not just somebody's woo-woo or made-up idea. These things are scientifically measurable. I don't understand the exact mechanism, but you can hold a thought that generates a feeling that can then be measured as a frequency. It's given a number in hertz. That's how exact it is. So the emotional frequency spectrum is literally measured in hertz. And I'm sure you've come across this when people say 432 hertz, for example, is an extremely beneficial frequency, the frequency of love. That is quite right. The musical scale plays into this too. Everything that's alive vibrates because everything that's alive holds energy that's moving. And the most powerful way that we experience moving energy, energy in motion, is what we call our emotions. Our emotions, energy that's moving, are our angels. They're messengers, as I've shared in recordings before, that allow us to know in our feeling state, in our frequency, what it is that we're thinking, because what we're thinking is creative. So the feeling arises not for us to make it real, but to bring us a message of, do you want this? This is what you're thinking. This is what it's creating. This is the frequency band it exists in. It is sad, or it is negative, or it is low, or it is joyful, wonderful, fantastic. The feeling comes to let us know what we're creating. Because this realm is a mental projection, my honeys. Even emotions are mental. They're mental, energetic constructs. And frequency is everything. Long, long, long before anything takes physical form, 3D manifestation, it is first created energetically. The energy structure and framework exists first. So it becomes so important to be aware of our feelings, to recognize the nature of our feelings, to not identify with and hold feelings that we don't desire, but instead to use our awareness to change our thinking, change our point of view, change our minds. And a changed feeling will be the result. And then the result of that, changing our mind and changing our feeling state, will be a change in physical manifestation. It's really not complicated, but we need to be aware of how it actually works, because it's working that way all the time. The question is, are we using this to work for us? Are we using it for what we actually desire or not? It is also so important to understand, my honeys, the role that validation of our feelings needs to play in our ability to shift our emotional state. We judge negative emotion. We judge it so badly. And this serves to suppress our negative emotions, which has very, very negative repercussions in our lives, in our bodies, in our state of being. Every negative emotion that we choose to feel is serving us, whether we are consciously aware of that or not. Because especially the negative emotional frequency spectrum, whatever negative emotion we are holding and choosing to identify with, is assisting us not to feel the one that's below it. It is a tool of suppression. It is a coping mechanism. Because some part of us believes that feeling the emotion below it is more threatening, more dangerous, more fearful. So to consciously recognize what we're feeling, especially when it's negative, and to validate that we feel it, to own that we feel it, to allow ourselves to feel it. That doesn't mean we have to express it. Doesn't mean we have to rage externally or trauma dump on somebody. But within ourselves, to validate that feeling, to own it, and to allow it is the first step in allowing it to shift. To recognize that it's all love. Every feeling is an angel that is here to serve us. So even feelings of extreme anger or feelings of deep hurt are serving to keep the emotional state that's below that out of our conscious feeling. So validate the feeling, thank it, allow it, and ask it to shift. Very loud passing trains and shouting neighbors. I hope it's not coming through too badly on this recording. I also wanted to mention the value of neutral states. Many people don't value them and want to shift out of them quickly because it's neutral, it's not powerful. But the neutral emotional states are critically important to actually resetting our resonance. Think of the neutral emotional states as a switching station. If our orientation was negatively polarized, spending some time in a neutral state allows those gears to shift to the more positive ones. And all of our positive feelings are what magnetize us to be able to attune to ever higher and higher and greater and better emotional states of being. Now, armed with this knowledge and insight, if we are choosing to consciously shift our frequency state. How do we climb the emotional scale? Apart from awareness, apart from changing our minds, how do we consciously choose how we wish to feel so that we can identify with that state of being, embody it, and hold it as where we live, energetically speaking? Again, if you understand frequency bands, if we are vibrating in a very low and negative feeling state, we can't simply go from a very low emotion to a very high one, because the jump, frequentially speaking, is too big. We can't make it. We're going to fall down in the middle. So we need to think about emotional states much like a ladder and understand what the rungs in that ladder are so that we can climb them. We can go from one very low feeling state to the feeling state that's just above it. And even though that's still a low feeling state, it's an improvement, it's higher. We're climbing the ladder, and so on, and so on, and so on. But because this episode has already been about 10 minutes long, I think that I'm going to end this episode here today with a teaser for you that I will start illuminating what the rungs of that ladder are in next week's episode for you, so that we can truly delve into the details and make this a series full of tools that you can use to shift your emotional frequency. So to end this one this week, I'd like to encourage you to make it your personal truth with your whole heart that we are never the victim of anything we may be feeling, but we can choose to change it. We begin that process, like all things, with our minds. Change our mindset, change our point of view, change what is true for us, change what we identify with, change what we hold, change what we choose to wallow in. Take a really, really deep breath and choose, to whatever degree, to feel better, to believe for the best, and to have a positive mindset. Much love and many blessings.